Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Noobie Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Omid Azami. It is 2020 and this is the first episode of the podcast to go out this year. I will be releasing a separate podcast doing a 2019 in review and a 2020 resolution piece, so I'll not get into it too much in this introduction today. In this week's episode, I sat down with Dr. Georg Benjamin out of Berlin, Germany. Georg studied at the University of Wurzburg in Germany and the University of Umea in Sweden, graduating in 2010. He started out as an associate dentist and since 2013 has been working as a general dentist with a special interest in endodontics. His work is focused on referral-based endo treatment and has a special interest in vital pulp therapies, which is quite interesting. In 2015, he co-founded a dental blog, which is a digital collection of cases and dental topics to share experiences with like-minded people. The link for the blog is in the show notes, guys. He also launched an international clinical dental podcast called Dental Bonding at IDS in 2019, which also I've linked to in the show notes for anyone who's interested in checking that out. In this episode, we explore what dentistry is like in Germany, the challenges local dentists faced, and the future trends that Georg sees developing there. We also talk about his clinical interests, his plans for the future, and dive into his podcast and blog. For me, I love these episodes where I get to talk to dentists from different parts of the world and connect their stories and their ideas with my audience, which is largely based in Australia, the United States, and Canada. It is cool to talk to dentists from different parts of the world. This episode is brought to you by my good friends at Henry Schein. Henry Schein is the leading distributor for dental practices in Australia with over 60,000 products covering from consumables, CAD/CAM technology and equipment, laboratory and specialty fields. You can always rely on them to be your trusted business partners every step of the way. As always, if you've been enjoying the Noobie Dentist Podcast, it would mean a lot to me if you can take some time, head over to iTunes and give the show a 5-star rating. These ratings play a big part in helping the show get more organic exposure for more and more people to find the episode and help the community grow. If you do have friends, classmates, and colleagues who you think will benefit from this interview or other episodes that I've done, please be sure to share that with them as well, because I do try and give a lot of value in these interviews, based on the types of guests and types of topics that we cover. So the more people that can find these episodes and listen to them, the more contribution that we can have to the field, which is pretty special for me. Also, we have a webinar coming up for Foresight Dental on the 30th of January with myself, Dr. David Keir, and Dr. Jesse Green. This is the new graduate accelerator webinar, which we talk about finding a job, accelerating at your job, and how to make the most out of mentorship. This is the first of its kind, so we're really excited for it. I hope you guys can join us because we're going to pack these 3 hours with a lot of content, and we're going to have a Q&A session as well where you can ask us questions and hopefully we can give you some nuggets of information that will really help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that we made early on and to really get to where you want to get to a lot faster. So I hope you guys can find us there. You can check out the webinar at foresightdental.com. That's the number 4, SIGHT dental.com. Without further delay, guys, I hope you guys enjoy this great interview with Dr. Georg Benjamin.
Hello and welcome to the Noobie Dentist Podcast, the safe place for newbie dentists to connect, collaborate, learn, and grow. The Noobie Dentist Podcast aims to provide high-quality and high-value content for all the newbie dentists out there. With your host, Dr. Omid Azami.
Okay, so I'm here with Dr. Georg Benjamin, who is a dentist in Berlin, Germany, who has kindly given up his Sunday evening, Monday morning here for me in Australia to talk some dentistry, to talk about dentistry in Germany and what it's like. So I'm really excited to kind of dive into it and see what dentistry is like in your part of the world, Georg. So thank you for coming on.
But actually, some people always tell me go to the Netherlands because it's much better than Germany.
So Georg, you're a podcaster yourself, which I think it's nice to talk to another podcaster because you're kind of familiar with the whole process and the interviews and everything. And we'll get into your podcast a little bit later on to have a chance to talk about it and see what your plans are and what your goals are for that. Normally, how I like to start these things is just with your origin story. So give us your background, why you chose to do dentistry in the first place, where you went to dental school, and we'll kind of take things from there.
Okay. Actually, I the question I get asked a lot by patients as well. Why did I choose dentistry and everything? And I recently thought about it because one of the reasons was I want to be self-employed later on, want to be my own boss. Funnily, I haven't opened my own office yet, so I kind of had to work on it. But I'm 2010 graduate of the University of Wurzburg. I kind of had to move from pretty much north of Germany to the south of Germany to study there. It was a really nice university because later on I realized that one of the heads of the conservative department is like a big thing in German aesthetic composites. And when I came back actually to Berlin, I realized that the Berlin trained dentists it really had a different training because actually officially German universities are all the same, but in the composite way, they were completely trained differently. Because, for example, at Professor Kleiber, we only had to use sectional matrices, no Toffelmeier and everything. We would have been kicked out of the course if we would. And I really had a great doctor at the university called Stefan Fickel. He's really great at PA surgery and actually also did a roadshow in Australia last year. And really good lecturer, and everybody wanted to be a periodontist, actually. But in Germany, we have to kind of do something like a GPR program, which is mandatory to get your license to charge the public health insurance. And since over 90% of the offices in Germany are using the public health insurance, it's kind of a thing to do. And when I was in Berlin, I kind of was surprised by the level of quality here. Not that it would have been any different in South Germany, but I kind of wanted to use just rubber dam and do good composites. And the thing with rubber dam was really tricky. And since Berlin is kind of really competitive environment for newbie dentists, especially because if you don't have any experience, you really bottom line of the list in every talk with a dentist. But I managed to find a job, quit it after 4 weeks. And then, because it was just terrible. And when I kind of found an office, it was a kind of a suburb of Berlin or even outside of Berlin, but the public transport was still bringing me there. And I had 2 very nice years with a rubber dam and everything how I wanted. And kind of realized that periodontics is not my thing, it's endodontics. I had a really nice boss who's like also very into endodontic, and found out that my 2 hands are made for it. You know, the thing is the transition. If you stay in the same office and you were the newbie dentist and now become a bit experienced, you know, there's some, some vibes in the air where I knew I couldn't stay there forever, although he just purchased a microscope even. But of course, he wanted to use it by himself to get the expert. I'm like, okay, great. So I kind of moved to another office. The idea was, for example, I had 2 nice interviews. One was basically an endodontic office, but they couldn't offer me a full-time position. And the other one was like a CEREC, a very general dentistry office. The idea was to kind of work in both offices. But actually it turned out that the CEREC office, like the general office, someone promised me too much. So I had a talk with the endodontic office if she'll have some other jobs for me to do there. And basically this was 7 years ago. 9 years a dentist now. So I can even give advices to newbies. It's a fun thing due to the podcast I do in Germany. I give a lot of advices because some people reach out to me as they reach out to you probably. Yeah, and that's my dental origin story. Now I'm kind of even moved into teaching a bit for GC and for some basic teaching programs of the dental chamber. So it's an interesting time right now.
That's awesome. So that's a lot there. So tell me a little bit about your first job that you were at for 4 weeks. What did you not like about that made you move on so quickly?
For example, discussions about bite wings. Really, she thought, no, we can't even charge the public health system by, for example. Of course we can. It's here. And it was just like the quality was really bad. And, at the beginning, we were really pumped and you will want to do something. And I really knew that she's just like pushing me down.
Yeah.
And then it was natural to just quit because, that's usually advice I give everyone in Berlin. If the job sucks, quits. Yeah. Don't wait for the new one to come. And I kind of even had to struggle to find the new one. For 2 months. I was unemployed. And although we don't have any student debt, it sucks. After university, the last half year is basically just exams, so you can't work or do any student jobs. So I really had to struggle to find the office, but sometimes being stubborn pays off.
Yeah, and it's important to be patient to wait for the right opportunity again, right? Because you don't want to rush from one job to another job, and then you don't like that second job, and then you got to do the whole thing again. So I think it's important to take some time to think about it and see what you can find. Tell me a little bit about that GPR sort of mandatory program that you have to do after dental school. Is that something that's done through the public, like hospitals, or is it you get a job in a practice and you just work under supervision? Or how does that work?
Well, you basically have to get a job. And we're working under supervision. That's the idea. In the first year, you're not supposed to work alone. There's also has to be the dentist, the owner on site. But actually, in the real world, I started in summer, and of course, everybody was gone for 3 weeks of summer leave. And I wasn't the person who was supposed to be like, well, due to the regulations, this is not allowed. So it's kind of pretty much easy to get this GPR. There are no regulation or anything. It used to be stricter, but after 2 years, you had to kind of buy your own office as well.
Yeah.
But because there wasn't any type of, you couldn't employ a dentist with this easily, it was very restricted, the market. Even like the areas where you want to build an office were restricted. Okay. For example, in Berlin, out of the 11 districts, only 2 had the opportunity for open offices. So it was before 2005. So some people, or some dentists, some others could sell their shitty office just for the public health permit. But that's all long gone. And right now we're even like seeing that the dental chains are coming.
Okay.
That some people have 5 offices, which was basically impossible for any dentist to think of 15 years ago.
Yeah. So it's become sort of a free market now. You don't need those permits you can just open wherever you want.
You can open wherever you want. Actually, when you, for example, if you talk to one dentist, you like the area, you just can open it next door. Since you know when he's gonna retire.
Yeah.
So the patient might want care.
Yeah. Interesting. So you mentioned that the dentistry, a lot of it is with the national, like public healthcare. So I know that from the medical side of things, so I guess it's public. So patients don't pay to go to the hospitals and see the doctors. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically right. In dentistry, it's a bit different because, basically, basic things are free. Yeah, the first visit, X-rays, pain treatment, even some basic crown and bridge or removable, basically free or can be free, but the patient can choose to upgrade. And usually, if they don't want an amalgam filling in the posterior, they upgrade to a composite, and then they kind of get the reimbursement from the insurance, which is maybe €50 for a free surface filling, which would amalgam filling, and they can upgrade kind of, and that's usually how it works. And from the business side of things, you always try to find something so the patient's coming to the upgrade.
Yeah. So are there any practices that are like fully private that don't accept, like say if you want to do like cosmetics and you're just doing veneers or high end kind of restorative dentistry, are you allowed to not accept the national health cover, or you have to kind of use that?
You can choose to open your completely private clinic or office. That's possible. And the thing in Germany is that we have 2 systems, like the public healthcare system, and we have even a private healthcare system. So about 10 or 15% of the German patients are in the private healthcare.
Yeah.
And we do have completely different plans. So you can make your own private clinic, which is fine. But actually, everybody is recommending the opposite, that you get your health insurance and you still can work your high end. You can still choose due to marketing and whatever you want, your patients, and basically up to your own. Of course, there are some rules. You can't reject a patient in pain. And basically the patient has a right to always choose public healthcare filling, the amalgam. But you know, it is some people just come to you for the composite filling or for the certain treatment you offer. But we have a lot of dentists who are just working purely in the public system and don't take any extra money or anything. And sometimes I don't know how they manage, but it wouldn't be my ideal way of working.
That's tough. You know, it's interesting because so in Canada, for example, it's dentistry is like pretty much all private. There's a little bit of public for children and like some seniors. And then similar in Australia, we have a full, like, I think it's more like similar to Germany because we have a full public system, a full private system. And then there's a little bit of overlap again for kids that can come to the private side and get some treatment that's covered. So it's interesting in different parts of the world how there's like different types of ratios and how the public health cover is kind of integrated. I think in Canada right now there's some talk going on for like, you know, there's the elections and stuff are coming up. So they're like, oh, we're going to make dentistry public. And so a lot of dentists are a little bit nervous because, you know, like you said, if the fees come down, if they're covered with public, it's tough to provide like, you know, really, you know, good treatment, take your time and do the whole rubber dam and everything. If you're only getting reimbursed like $50 or €50, because it's tough to cover your expenses and stuff that way. Another interesting thing you were telling me in the pre-interview was that there's no endodontist in Germany as a specialty. How's that happen?
Yeah, we don't have that. We have, I think in Germany you have 3 overseas trained really endodontists, and the rest of them are basically self-trained. I mean, we have like not a chamber like the AEE, like the German Endodontics Society, who have, of course, their own specialty, not really program. We have to make a really hard test there to be an official specialist. But it's not like specialty programs like that you're doing 3 years postgrad anywhere.
Yeah.
But the thing is, since we are in the European Union, for example, Great Britain, still in the European Union, has some specialties. I think Spain and even Poland and some other. You know, there's a law if basically 2/3 of all the member countries have something like this specialty. Germany has to do it as well, because then it's for the whole EU. But there's still 2 countries kind of missing on the list.
Yeah.
So Germany doesn't have to do it. And basically, in the 50s, after the war, when they kind of revamped dental system, they wanted to have like the general dentist who can do all. We only have oral surgery as specialty and ortho as specialty.
Yeah.
And there's one county in Germany who has like a periodontist as specialty, and even one different one, like Brandenburg, which is the neighboring county of Berlin, has like the general dentistry as a kind of specialty, but that's it. And that's a good thing, that everybody can kind of choose his own specialty. And even it's so that even a general dentist can do ortho and even charge the public healthcare system with ortho. But on the other hand, when you're doing just ortho and you're a specialist, you're not allowed to charge general dentistry.
Okay, interesting.
But the ortho guys are the ones who are earning the most in Germany, so it's fine.
Yeah. So in terms of, say, within Europe, from our end of things, I mean, we're outsiders looking in. So we see like the Scandinavian countries seems to have like a pretty high standard of like dental care. Maybe not so like the UK and stuff. Traditionally, it's been pretty bad. It's like reputation wise because of the, you know, NHS public and just amalgams and things. What's it like, do you think, in Germany right now is like the average level of dentistry that the general dentist is doing? And because I know you're on Instagram and you're pretty active in the dental community, so you see the other stuff that people are doing around the world. How would you compare like the level of dentistry in Germany right now compared to the rest of the countries?
Okay. First of all, actually, I studied 1 semester in Sweden in Umea.
Yeah.
So I kind of know the level. They're really good in preventive, like everything which is fluorides and everything. They're really, really strong. They're really strong in endodontics.
Yeah.
But for example, the general thing in Sweden is pretty much basic, but it's because it's more public healthcare service driven. For example, you don't get paid for extra hours you're spending on the patient. So at 5, the office is closing and you're closing. And it's only, you don't have dentists who open offices. It's usually clinics who are run by someone else.
Okay.
And that's the advantage in Germany. We basically used to have, because now the chains are coming, just single operator offices who kind of had a high standard. Yeah, you can say. And even although Germany was never really good on the preventive side, we are increasing quite a lot. So the level is good. Is it perfect? When you look at Instagram, no. For example, there are not a lot of dentists in Germany who can hold up to the Instagram level. Let's be honest. The picture sites is not very strong because usually they work a lot, don't have time for pictures.
They're busy,
the busy things. So that's kind of sad that international, where we have some known dentists, but compared to other countries with their specialties, we're kind of behind right now.
Okay, interesting. And so tell me, what's your average week at work? I know you do a lot of endo at work, but how many patients do you see roughly per day? Like, what's the how busy? What's the life?
That's not the German average. Usually, I work from Monday to Tuesday. That's the day before Friday, right?
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday. I always mix them up. Sorry. Yeah. And since all my endo sessions are 2 hours, for example, it could be that tomorrow I'm just having 4 patients. And it's all 2 hours of endo sessions. Yeah. So sometimes in between there's like a referral I have to talk to. But that's it. I also have a passion for composite, everything direct dentistry. So actually doing endodontic under the microscope is a bit automatically doing a lot of restorative work, like the pre-endodontic treatments, that the seal is good for the rubber dam and everything. So my average week is I don't see a lot of patients. I usually have long sessions. Even if doing composite direct fillings, I kind of book 60 to 90 minutes, depending on the case. Yeah. Probably next week, I even have like black triangle thing. For these cases, I book 2.5 hours and maybe half an hour as a repolishing appointment. Yeah. And that's my usual day. I really used to do more indirects, but I kind of, due to the endodontic referrals, I usually don't have time for that, which is nice. But, in my office, there are also my boss started a lot of in the endodontics, basically. But she kind of saw that I have the talent for it, so she moved into to the big case dentistry. Yeah, and we also have 2 other dentists who are basically a bit general dentists, but the one is also really good under the scope. So that's basically my week. The 4D week is really nice for lecturing.
That's nice, yeah.
And I rarely see more than 10 patients a day. Yeah, but it's not the average. I know some dentists or friends see at least 40 in the mornings. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like the roller skate dentists. That's crazy. 4 chairs and just running around. But you always have to decide what kind of dentistry you want. Some people make their hourly rate by just seeing a lot of patients. Yeah. And then usually sometimes it sucks because some of these patients end up in the endodontic office because there was never done a bite ring or anything. Yeah. So the decay got huge and everybody's surprised. And then they try to start an endodontic treatment, but no rubber dam on. And of course, if it's like a big MOD cavity, the buccal or palatinal breaks away. And these are the cases I see sometimes, which kind of makes me sad because I was like, just some ways and this would be safe. Yeah. But of course I only see the bad cases. Yeah. I agree with you. I see that as I've been working for a couple of years and you start to see what you like and what you don't like. And that volume of dentistry, I really don't enjoy that. If you're just seeing like a lot of patients just to kind of do like simple procedures over and over again, just to try and build it up. I'd much rather have your schedule where you're booking like 3 or 4 patients and spending 2-3 hours, like 2 hours with each one. Yeah, sometimes I even listen to a different podcast where dentists are like, and you get faster and you get faster. I'm like, no, don't get faster and faster, of course. In certain things, for example, I think you talked in one podcast about it as well. How to manage the patients. Don't tell them too much, just the basic, and they're usually fine with it. They don't care about like the little details, the little side canals, whatever, or obturation technique I use. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But I think it was episode 20 something for your listeners ages ago.
Yeah.
And that's a thing you probably have to learn. What I really appreciate in my office is like we have right now 3 rooms just for talking with the patients with no dental chair inside.
Okay, like a consult room. Yeah.
A consult room. Actually, that's where the money is really made. Yeah. Because the patient is so relaxed, and I love talking in these rooms. I just show some pictures, how it should look, and that's it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's interesting because in Canada, when I was working, almost every practice had a consult room. It was like a very standard. It was like a model. Like any practice that was being built more modern would have one. I haven't seen it too much here in Australia, but I know obviously it's some of the bigger practices that do a lot of the more high-end stuff will definitely have it. Because I think there's a lot of value in having that separate room where you can bring someone in a nice, relaxed, non-clinical sort of environment to have those conversations with them. So tell me a little bit about your podcast, your teaching. I know you said you do some rubber dam stuff and you've been in the podcast for a little while. You're about like 40, 50 episodes in. So I know it's mostly in German, but I think you do a little bit in English as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I just focus on the English part. For example, I'm kind of in the Vibe community since you're now in Australia. You know Lincoln Harris, really nice guy. Yeah. And for example, I interviewed Mindaugas Kondelis, a really cool dentist who's really good in directs posterior. This kind of was a podcast before he kind of took off with his international lecturing. Yeah. Even like since Maciek Czerwinski, who's like big in the Tomorrow Tooth group, but also at Vibe. I've interviewed him before he did a course in Berlin, and it was kind of cool because with the podcast, we managed to book 50% more persons.
Wow.
I mean, it was a really small group, but 4 people just came just because of the podcast with him.
Yeah.
And this way, the course probably could even be done. No, he told me even if it's just 2 bookings, he will do it anyway because he's just like doing it for the fun of it. Yeah. And you know, during the IDS, I did some podcasts for GC, which was really cool. For example, Stefan Barrett, Joseph Sabag, Mario Vivas Cardoso, a lot of cool guys in the, I wouldn't say just GC universe, but in the dental European world. I could interview them about, it was a little bit product based. Yeah. But which was fine because the IDS is all about new products, and it was quite exciting to, for example, to talk to the professor who kind of invented glass fiber reinforced composite.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And actually, I think this way is the dentists who are listening to it not only know what are the new products, but even like, for example, of course, you're fans of certain products. Everybody has different products who they love. Yeah. And we had the opportunity to be really an expert in these products as well. And I call this a podcast channel, Dental Bonding. Yeah. Actually, there's a podcasting incubator by Alan Mead, who founded the Dental Hacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a Facebook group. Okay. Not very active, but nice. And actually, someone suggested the name Dental Bonding and gave it away if anyone wants it. I'm like, what's fun? Right now, it's still a bit GC branded because it was, I just started it for the IDS international channels. Although I had with my German podcast this international content already. Yeah. So it was even easier for the listener to like put the English stuff just in the English part. Yeah. And since I was also at the Root Summit in Berlin last year, which is an international Facebook group as well. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to do a podcast with Jenna Agueta from Guatemala. Last time on the podcast, I said Honduras. Sorry, Jenna. And that's the kind of line up for the lecturing business. Jenna even like secretly invited me in his lecture because he did something about pulpotomy of permanent teeth. Yeah. He was more like partial pulpotomy thing, but he knew that I have also doing full pulpotomies. For example, probably every dentist knows the tooth where you see it on the X-ray and it's going to be endo for sure. Yeah. And you know, it's probably a vital tooth and it kind of sucks. But if you would do a direct pulp capping, it wouldn't work for sure. I mean, usually every young dentist tries, every old dentist as well, but it fails in 50% of it. And the idea basically is just that you just remove a part of the pulp, which is maybe the infected part, put something cool like an MTA, biodentine, whatever you call it. we call it total fill. You call it, what's the American word of it? Like the
bioceramics?
Bioceramics, yeah. And it works pretty good, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's also one thing I'm lecturing in Germany, pulpotomy of permanent teeth. In the beginning, I called it vital pulp therapy, but it was a bit, how do you call it? It sounded too scientific for the general office, although the whole pulpotomy thing is a pure thing for the general office.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about the pulpotomy thing is it was our pain treatment in the office where I did my GPR. Mm-hmm. We just did cases with irreversible pulpitis or pulpitis, just a full pulpotomy, put something, a medication on it, which is fairly popular in Germany. It's called Ledamix.
We have it in Australia too. Yeah.
Oh, you have Odontopest as well.
I think Ledamix is like, it's not used that much anymore, but I remember in dental school, they taught it to us, and it was like the thing that everyone used maybe like 10, 20 years ago. It was like the number one option. And now a short ad break from our sponsors. Henry Schein has a complete endodontic solution for your practice. Their vast range of products include everything from diagnosis right through to retreatment. With brands you can trust like Merida, Coltine, Edge Endo, Comet, and Septodont, you are guaranteed to find everything you need. Interested in learning more about endo? Henry Schein also runs hands-on courses throughout the year in Australia, and you can find more information about these courses and products on offer at their website, www.henryschein.com.au. Again, that's www.henryschein.com.au. Back to the interview.
Actually, there's now apparently new data which recommends it again.
Okay.
Because due to the steroids inside, everybody was like, well, it could mask the symptoms, but actually it's good. It's a mask, for example, if you have your skin, of course, you get some steroids on it.
Yeah.
It will go away. Why not in dentistry?
Yeah.
That's one thing I really like to do. And for example, for the next course, I really managed to do a workshop. I got 4 different, not really sponsors because the dental chamber is independent, but 4 different company who gave me their MTA, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
For example, Angelus. So I talk to the boss on the IDS.
Yeah.
And he gave me the material, which was quite funny. Septodont is really great people with Biodentin. They were like, oh yeah, of course we support you. And there's actually also a really cheap company for MTA. It's called Cercamate from Poland.
Okay.
MTA in the German market, but not active in the USA and probably not in Australia.
Yeah.
But 80 countries all over the world. And we also have a nice MTA I used for quite some time. And that's one of my things besides rubber dam isolation. Actually, it's kind of funny. It was also my dream to do rubber dam isolation courses like Stefan Barrett. And actually, the past 3 courses were fully booked just by Berlin.
Yeah.
Which quite nice. I thought it would be a really hard sell. And the third thing is I'm working also. I moved up as just not opinion leader, so key opinion leader.
Nice.
Yeah.
A lot of things happening.
Yeah. It's actually, I mean, it's not official, but I can say it. No, there's a restorative advisory board by TC Europe, and they're have 10 members from all over Europe who discuss the newest products before we even come to the market. And this year I will be the first German dentist on it for quite some time.
Amazing.
So, yeah, that's exciting. So I'm gonna get to fly to Budapest. Actually, I just booked flights for Budapest.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of my thing right now. Doing some direct composite courses.
Yeah, rubber dam, direct composite. So what's the ideal? What's your plan for the next 5 years? What's your ideal case of where you want things to go?
Really, since I'm kind of just an associate in office, I probably have to think about getting my own office somehow. It's really what do you call it? Yeah, a big topic right now in my life. On the other hand, when you see some people who are lecturing, for example, Jason Smithson, these guys are just basically working just 3 days a week and doing the lecturing business. Yeah. So I'm still not sure. On the other hand, Jason Smithson was just kicked out of his office. He's been for 20 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really kind of, you can say, I don't know the details, but basically kicked out, I would say, and he had to get a new job, and also some other dentists were kicked out. So actually, when you think about it, that you kind of depend also on recalls, that the people in the lecture want to see how does it look 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And that's probably you have more secure thing for this recall rate if you have your own office. Since the patients are kind of lazy. They don't want to travel through Berlin.
Probably,
and I'm basically living in the North Berlin and practicing in the South Berlin. So. So actually, I talked to some people lately, and of course, one is a dental chain who wants to open an endodontic department as well.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I would be leading the endodontic department, but I would be the only endodontist there. But what kind of not really holding me back? It's an interesting opportunity, but we only see like, okay, we need an endodontist. This is an endodontist, great. But we don't see the restorative part I'm also interested in.
Yeah.
Because I think in other dimensions. And maybe a smaller office is a better place. So let's see. Something has to change this year for sure.
I think that's since you said early on that one of the reasons you got into dentistry was to be your own boss and not work for somebody. I know it's a bit of a financial risk and an investment and things to open your own practice and spend the money on the chairs and the fit out and everything. But I think long term you'll be happy that you did. So I would certainly, from my end of things, encourage you to do your own practice and build your own thing up. So
all these podcasts are so encouraging to open your own office. Actually, sometimes I think, why don't we interview the failures? It's different. Don't do it.
I'm a big believer in, trying to just surround yourself with positive people, right? Because if people are positive around you, it encourages you to do, better things. If you're just around negative people all day and they say, no, don't do it, don't do this, or dentistry is not good, it affects what you do too. So I'll send you some positive energy and encourage you to go for it.
Yeah. No, actually, Berlin is a very competitive market. We have some good dentists here and the dental saturation is huge. And actually someone even told me that its saturation is bigger than in Manhattan, although I think there are not so many dentists in Manhattan. Yeah. But I heard in Switzerland, in some cities, it's even worse, like Zurich, for example. It's probably one of the hardest markets in the world. Yeah. But of course, everybody says it's hardest market. I remember Omar, who's in Dubai. He's also like competitive here.
any big city around the world, I thought like Toronto was very bad. Melbourne's obviously saturated. I don't think there's any big city around the world now that it's not saturated, right? So you have to, I guess, find your differentiating factor. And I think for you, it's going to be like, high-end endo, high-end restorative, and just have to spend the time to market it, I guess, and take the time to build it up by reputation. It just takes a little bit of time.
But the thing is, is there really a market for high-end composite dentistry? I'm not sure yet. I have to try it out by myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's important for patients. And I don't know, it's going to hopefully swing around because right now, even in Australia, everything is okay. Let's do cheaper. So people just want to find the cheapest option and just pay the less price. But I think it's important to like not treat dentistry. It's not like you're buying like a bottle of water. It's not going to be all the same. You have to, I think patients will realize eventually that there's good dentists and bad dentistry. Like not every filling is the same. So hopefully it just takes time and you just got to build the education and the awareness. And then people will realize, okay, I get what I pay for. If I pay a little bit extra, I might get a better, longer lasting filling done or endo done or whatever it is.
We'll see. So far it's kind of worked out. But I just thought about the matrixing course I did with Maciek Czerwinski.
Yeah.
And when I think about what all can go wrong in direct dentistry, just with the matrixing part, for example, if you're using the scope in direct dentistry, it's awful.
Yeah. It's hard to see, or why is it awful?
No, actually,
because you see too much.
You see too much. Or just, for example, my own brother, in the GPR program, I did some fillings with him. And I'm like, okay, it's under rubber dam. It's really good adhesive seam, OptiBond FL. Yeah. Perfect. And 4 years later, I did a bite ring. I'm like, oh no, secondary decay. That can't. This is where I really checked this time with the scope, the fit of the matrix.
Yeah.
And you're really surprised sometimes how bad the fit is, how much still fluids are coming up, although the isolation is okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of improved my isolation as well. And the matrixing was still an issue, but well, Facebook helps a lot of it. And I also, the interesting thing, you are all so much on Instagram, say the Instagram family is so great. I'm like, okay, the Facebook family is much better sometimes.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, okay. For example, if you're in groups like Wipe, we have a really high level, even on general dentistry things. And for example, since I follow some hashtags on Instagram, of course, and it's easier to follow things on Instagram. But for example, under the rubber dam hashtag, where sometimes some cases I would be like, I wouldn't post that. And even like in the local world, Dentist Berlin or something like that, I'm like, really, guys?
Yeah. You
can't post that on Facebook or Instagram. It's terrible. Yeah. But sometimes the ego of the dentist is so big that they probably won't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, so in Facebook, we are so used to this composite porn. So that pretty much average filling without tinting.
It looks very bad. But I like it. I think, I mean, Facebook, I try and go on Facebook a little bit as well. I'm not as active on there, but I see the value, even if it's not perfect, because I think it's important to like document your work. I think it helps you improve, right? So it takes, if you're brave enough to post it, if it's not perfect, then you get some feedback and then you're like, okay, next time I'll get better. I think it's just important to have like good feedback, because I think on Facebook, when I go, sometimes I see a lot of like negative comments and stuff.
Yeah. But that's a good thing about Ripe. Seriously. Yeah. At Ripe, the admins are very strict with the rules, and criticism is allowed, but it has to not be negative criticism. So if you're like, it's so bad, I can't believe you're dentist, like that's the comments on Style Italiano sometimes.
Yeah. That's funny comments. People will comment like, I would never do that, or like, that's funny.
I mean, sometimes I posted cases, for example, pulpotomy, what people didn't know. Call the patient immediately and do the endo, it won't work. I'm like, yes. Like, I'm gonna listen to you from whatever you come from and call the patient. Yeah. But it's interesting, you always said that the Instagram world is so positive. I actually saw that too. A lot of the Instagram comments are so nice that I was like, okay, it could be create a bubble.
Yeah, maybe. That could be a problem. Yeah, I think maybe it's nice to get some bad comments too once in a while, just to make sure everything's not too artificial.
In some cases, I kind of wanted to be the devil's advocate and kind of not really give a bad comment. I'm like, what do you think about the neighboring tooth?
Yeah.
Or what do you think about this? And some people are like, you don't know the full case and everything. Like, well, then share the full case.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If I'm so used to Ripe and the full case protocol that I sometimes forget it.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool that, Ripe, because, Lincoln Harris is an Australian dentist. So it's cool that he's got such a global kind of reach now, and people know about him and know about Ripe and everything. So,
I mean, 70,000 dentists in this group, probably dentists. It's crazy.
That's great. No, he's done really well. Hopefully, I should actually try and get him on the podcast. That'd be a pretty exciting interview. So thank you for coming on. I know we covered a lot of topics. I just want to, maybe if you send me the links to your podcast and stuff, I'll put it in the show notes for anyone listening who wants maybe a fresh perspective or a European perspective of what's going on around the world. For me, it's pretty cool because I'm lucky enough, and I take a lot of pride that I get a lot of kind of interviews from, or a lot of downloads from around the world. So obviously the majority of the listeners are like Canadian and American and Australian, but there's a lot of UK and Germany and Dubai and Egypt and like around the world. So it's pretty exciting. So it's fun for me.
Actually, India is kind of strong. India is very strong.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people who are hungry for information, and I think it's a unique opportunity. So I just want to thank you for coming on to chat with you, to chat with another podcaster, a newly crowned key opinion leader. So it's exciting for me.
It sounds better than it is. But we just keep everyone think about the title, and it's a nice goal to achieve. It took me quite some time, actually.
Yeah, no, I think it should be a goal for anyone who wants to get into lecturing and stuff. I think it's a nice thing to aim for. So how I like to end these things is a bit of a rapid fire. Just to make things fun. So tell me, what's your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, actually
Mushrooms? Okay. What's your favorite tooth to work on?
Okay, I have to differentiate. In directs, I really love the premolars, upper premolars. In endos, I really love, of course, the first molars.
The upper first? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like to go looking for the MB2?
Yeah, MB2, MB3, terrible what you find sometimes.
No. Don't tell me this stuff. I don't want to know. MB3. What's your favorite musician or artist or band?
Oh, I love hip hop. So I have to think about it internationally because lately I'm only listening to German hip hop.
Yeah.
Terrible. No, it's just say my favorite one. It's Materia.
Yeah.
It's a German rapper.
German rapper? Okay. I'll have to check out his music. What's like one profession, like what profession would you be in if you weren't in dentistry?
Actually, what do you call it? Probably carpenter business would be an option because we also have CAD CAM and everything.
Yeah.
And the other idea was to kind of study like, of course, computer programming in combination with electronics, so I can build my own things and just sell them on Kickstarter and move to this project. Yeah,
that'd be fun. It's funny because I think carpentry is it's almost like dentistry without the biology side of it. So it's fun to just, I always sometimes when I have like a bad day at work, I'm like, oh, I wish I was just like a carpenter, like building chairs and tables and stuff. I don't have to worry about the like flare ups and patient issues. So what's one procedure in dentistry that kind of makes you question your career choice?
Actually, it's when a patient comes with pain on the implant.
Pain on the implant.
And and I really, since I never placed an implant, I only removed 5. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I even tell the patients that. Yeah. And, and for example, when my boss is like, yeah, it could be abutment or just a screw, I'm like, really? I don't want to see these patients. I don't care about implant problems.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was interviewing a couple of endodontists in Australia yesterday, Mehdi Rahimi and Mark Johnston. So they were saying it's that pendulum of, everyone was really quick to extract and do implants maybe 5-10 years ago. It's kind of swinging back again now because we're starting to see a little bit more failures and things to try and save more teeth now. So it's funny how the philosophy kind of goes back and forth a little bit. Perfect. So thank you for coming on. It was a great chat. It was nice to meet you finally and have the opportunity to talk to you and ask some questions and get some more insight onto the German sort of dental market and the dental scene there. So we'll be following your work and I'm excited to kind of see what you're doing in the next little bit.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm honored to be probably the first German dentist on the podcast.
For sure.
I hope the German accent was not as bad.
No, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to do the editing for sure. So,
actually, the Dental Hacks podcast usually have like a clinical hack of the week. You can send them something, and I usually send them a couple ones, and we already know that. Oh, it's the German again.
Yeah, the German is back. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, George. Appreciate it.